Live-action anime adaptations, whether they be movies or TV series, have quite the bad reputation among the community, and rightfully so, as it seems like just about every single one of them ends up doing at least something wrong. Hello everyone, this is the RPG Monger, and with so many live-action anime adaptations being made recently, I really wanted to discuss this. Like, actually take a look at the sheer amount of planned live-action adaptations right now. It is genuinely frightening. But back on track, before I go into the specimens of the day, let us go over just why it is so hard to make these live-action anime. Well, it can actually be compared to something we all know of, for better or for worse, light novel adaptations. Just like how light novels are quite difficult to translate over to something like anime are just as hard to translate over to a live-action movie or TV show. And wouldn't you know, the reason for that is quite simple: the butchering of the source material. With Dragonball Evolution being the poster child of this problem, cramming something as large as an anime or even a manga into something as compact as a 2-hour-long movie is frankly unimaginable. Not to mention, when it's being made in Hollywood, at least in the past, it would tend to be pretty low budget due to anime still being pretty niche. But that is more in the past, as recently we have gotten an example of a live-action anime not looking horrible. While the altered plot and certain other issues hindered the adaptation quite a bit, I will say that the Ghost in the Shell live-action movie had really decent effects for something like a live-action anime. Even if the movie wasn't that great in my opinion, that alone shows that we are at least progressing somewhat in that regard. Though even then, I'm sure we'll still be getting movies like the live-action adaptation of Attack on Titan. So under the notion that the quality of these movies will be more on the level of Ghost in the Shell in terms of CG and effects from now on, will the plots of these adaptations ever actually work with the source material and not utterly destroy it? Well, that is honestly debatable. Unfortunately, those kinds of things will come down to the actual people behind the film, like the director for example. I like to think they'd come to their senses, but you honestly can't ever know. Though before I forget, live-action anime movies are only half of the spectrum now, as in this day and age, we are starting to get more and more live-action anime adaptations in the form of TV shows of all things. For instance, it has been announced that One Piece, yes, you heard me right, One Piece is going to be getting a live-action TV series in, wait for it, Hollywood. Apparently, the original creator has an ideal cast as well, which is quite promising and interesting, but equally worrying. And it doesn't stop there, because Cowboy Bebop is also getting the same treatment with a TV series as well. However, with this, there are upsides and downsides. One major upside is the fact that they don't have to cram in everything as hard as they do with a live-action movie, and have more space to do so as they please. But then, there is also a completely new factor that is being thrown into the mix. With such adaptations as the reimagined Death Note that is going out on Netflix, it's the fact that not only will the plot be changed, but the actual cores of the characters themselves, like something as simple as their names, will be changed. Of course, I get it that this is done so that this can be more easily digested by your average person who uses such a service as Netflix, but it unfortunately makes the adaptation even farther away from the source material. So let's talk examples. And some of these haven't exactly come out yet, but I feel are fair game due to how much we know about them already. So first on the chopping block is the live-action movie for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable. And the reason I'm bringing it up is the fact that it's doing something a bit unique in terms of live-action adaptations. It's splitting itself into parts. Now, why is this any good? They still are going to, and did, alter the original plot and characters to fit the time frame of the movie, so what difference will it end up making? Well, it's actually quite a major difference, as even though many things will be altered, the pacing will end up being a whole lot better, and not be incredibly rushed, as these things tend to be. Not to forget that there is much more room for the original material compared to what many live-action anime tend to do and make up of random story elements as things go along. Also, if you really care, here's a spoiler alert for the Diamond is Unbreakable live action movie if you actually have the means and the desire to go see it. So, for those of you who don't know, the movie basically adapts the beginning arcs of the anime and manga, since they are absolutely integral. Well, in doing so, towards the end of the movie where Okuyasu's brother Keijo would usually get killed by one of the antagonists of the part, Akira, Akira was actually completely taken out of the story, and who ends up killing him is actually the main villain, Kira Yoshikage. On one hand, this is pretty inevitable, as even if you split things into parts, you'll still have to do these sorts of things, whether you like it or not. One thing I have to praise though, is that in a weird way, this works quite well and isn't much of an ass-pull, as these situations tend to be. While it is unfortunate that these kinds of things happen, we have to remember, it is so much better than completely creating new characters and plot points. With the route they're going for, the adaptation will still be able to progress into the later major plot points with relative ease, as Akira doesn't exactly have that much of an effect on the latter half of the part at all, honestly. Speaking of making characters up though, that reminds me of our bad example. So what even is our bad example? There are just so many to choose from. Maybe it's Black Butler, or even Terraformars. Well, while those are equally bad in their own rights, when talking about bad live-action adaptations, you would be doing a disservice by not mentioning this train wreck. The Attack on Titan live-action does just about everything you dread for a live-action anime to do. The CG is horrendous, the plot is completely slaughtered, and the characters are severely altered. But I know what you're wondering. Monger, the Attack on Titan live-action is split in parts as well. Wouldn't that make it better, you little Dumbo? And normally, it should have made it better, but unfortunately, that is really not the case. First off, let me say that even with the alteration of the source material, adaptations can still end up golden and be quite the good watches. What the Attack on Titan live action movie suffers from goes way beyond that. First of all, the pacing of the movie is absolutely atrocious, with random story elements being mashed in at random, all the while being suffocated by all the garbage original material that was crammed into the movie. Like, it's one thing to remove a character entirely for the purpose of fitting a massive story into a movie format, but it's another thing to remove a character and then replace him with a completely new and worse substitute. Not only is it forced and unnatural, but it just makes no sense at all. For those of you who haven't seen the movies, basically, they replaced Levi with some other character, and then created a weird love triangle with Eren, Mikasa, and the weird not Levi. Honestly, looking past the cheesy CG, this is probably the worst part of the entire movie, as they do something that really should never be done. They add themes that just were not present in the original source material, and that, my friends, is honestly the worst you can get. At least with other bad live action movies, you can get a chuckle at how bad they are. This is just so bad, it's unbearable. At the end of the day, whether the adaptation be a movie or a TV series, there is one thing you must never forget. When adapting anything, manga, anime, cartoons, you name it, if the source material was popular, then it was popular because of its characters, themes, and overall plot. When you alter these integral things that made the source material so beloved and popular, then the adaptation will become so detached and disliked that in the end, it can barely even be considered as part of the franchise it was adapting. Oh, and before I go into my outro, can we address the live action movie for Fullmetal Alchemist? Because oh boy, that's one spicy adaptation in the works there. But most importantly, what is wrong with Envy? All the others look passable, but Envy looks absolutely depressed. Yes, everyone, Envy, the character whose sole purpose was being smug and snarky, and they made him look like this. Hey, at least we have Armor, you know, my favorite anime character, Armor. Alright, anyways, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, do subscribe, and today's cool thing of the day is fan art. I feel bad for never showcasing the fan art you all will send to me, and I really regret not saving them to my computer sooner, but I just have to give a shout out to all the people who have given me fan art in the past up until now. It really means a whole lot that somebody would take the time out of their day to draw my Moogle of all things. Seriously, thank you. So that being said, I'm the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic.